I am Sarah of Novice Cosplay, and I am discussing how I built my senatorial Padme Amidala costume from Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. Today I am going to be discussing the headpiece. Padme's hair is worn as usual in an intricate style that cannot actually be done with natural hair. This requires strict structure both internally and externally. The way that I chose to make this headpiece was with 3D printing and a wig. This headpiece took me about 50 hours to construct. I started off with a wig that was, I think, around 18 to 20 inches long. It definitely needs to be long enough that from the lace front is important, it needs to be able to wrap around and tuck inside the back of the wig. I had just gotten into 3D printing and designing my own files, and I really wanted this headpiece to be as precise as possible. So this was one of my prototypes, and the reason I did not use it is because I made it 5 millimeters thick, and this just made it a little bit heavier than was necessary. My final model ended up being 2 millimeters thick. As you can see, I was able to print this whole piece on my CR10 V3 in a single piece without needing to assemble it. I do have these files for sale on my Etsy shop, so they are designed to be printed as a single piece, but they could be broken down for smaller printers. I made it so that it was able to be worn on the back of the head as this style is done. It is slightly oval shaped because a head is not a perfect circle. So it is slightly longer going towards the back, as you can see here, and it's intended that it can be seen from the front, but most of the shape is really seen from profile. Then it was time to disassemble my wig. So I had my 2 millimeter thick print, and I knew exactly what part of my head it would be covering, and everything that wasn't covered by the print would stay. So the hair around this part of the wig at the lace front and a little bit at the back could stay on, but everything else had to be taken off. As you can see, most of this wig is what is on the 3D printed shape. There's very little extra that goes over my head where a normal wig is. So we still have a little bit for the ears, a little bit for the hairline. My lace front is a little bit gummy because of the wig tape that I've been using, but it's at least enough to make it look like this hair is coming from my head. And then at the back, there's actually very little, it's just the baby hairs here. So I did end up actually removing almost all of the wefts from this wig so that I was just left with a little bit here at the front. And as you can see, the bulk of this wig is really what's on the 3D print. Once I had removed the wefts, I started covering the base of this wig. So I painted it brown and I glued a good portion of hair onto the base so that it would just have a covering. I used E6000 to attach the wefts to the base, but then when it came time to really get that hair to stick to the shape, I used a 50-50 solution of water and tacky glue. If I zoom in, you can see some parts that aren't micro braided. So like right here, this is actually probably the original layer of hair that I glued down. And you can actually just see some of the print through this hair because there was so much to cover that I do have the odd bald spot. Once I had a layer of hair to cover the base, I then attached the 3D print to the wig. I used a Dremel to drill holes into my wig base and then sewed that directly onto my wig. This was a trust the process kind of project. Most of my wefts were on the front part of the wig and I kind of smoothed them out for placement. Once my base was attached, I could start micro braiding because of course this wig wasn't just complicated enough already. I had to braid all of the wefts that I had reattached. So the braids go all the way up
starting from the hairline up the full length, and they do in fact technically continue inside, but by the time I got to the ends, I ended up just gluing a lot of them down, but you can see some of them that stayed braided. Getting the hair to lie smoothly on the base shape was most of this process. And then once I had glued down this portion and I had elastic on this portion to keep it all in place, I glued up here and then glued everything down on the inside. So this was done with a mixture of tacky glue and water to help keep everything smooth, as well as hair drying as I went in order to dry. Once all the hair was done in the middle, then I could work on these central loops. Padme's headpiece does have these 3 loops and a base piece here that are what hide all of the ends of the hair as they go down into this shape. So what I did was I took some more of my braids and I sewed them with a zigzag stitch onto pieces of elastic, because elastic won't fray and it's strong enough. So I could sew them onto there, again using glue to try and get it as smooth as possible. I then made these into a little bundle and then glued that bundle onto the inside of the wig just here. Then it was time to attach my adornments. So this wig has 3 rings with squares that are decorating it. And then we have 1, 2, 3, technically 4 rings that are plain. Technically the original does have some studs on here, but I decided not to add those. And then we have the bars. And you will also notice that they interweave. So I started by attaching the bottom ring with the bars already glued on, because this is big enough that it could slide down the whole piece and get it fixed. I then added this piece because again, it was big enough that it could go down and I could glue my bars here to get things in place. And I started going from there. So I think it was this one next, then this one, and we added all the way up to the top. So I glued these on with, I think it was E6000 or Gorilla Glue. I honestly don't remember. But yeah, these were done piece by piece until they covered the wig. So you can see without me having my hair styled or anything, this is how it fits on. So I have just enough up here to give myself this hairline. And then it fits like this towards the back. But how do I get this monstrosity to actually stay on my head? So the first thing that I need to do is get all of my natural hair up and out of the way. It's all going to be covered by the wig, but there is a strategy to it. In the wig, I placed a comb right up here at the front, and I want that to go into my hair. So I'm going to put my bun only like 2 inches back from my hairline, and it's going to look ridiculous, but this is what's going to support the weight of the wig. So I'm going to just go ahead and get my hair up into a pony. All right, this is the look. This is the moment. So as you can see, I have this ponytail really far forward on my head, and I have just swept everything up into that. I find this easiest to do with my head flipped upside down, which is why I didn't film it, but I want this all here up at the front. And then I'm going to use a bun form to just make a nice neat bun on top of my head. And here's the look for the bun. It doesn't have to be beautiful. It just has to feel snug. I don't even use bobby pins. I just put a hair tie around to kind of keep the hair in place, but the placement is all that really matters. I have found that this style is what best supports the weight of the wig and also gives me a place to put the comb in. If I have my bun too far back or too far forward, I have had some problems, so I've had to kind of mess with it, and sometimes I'll even put it all up, try to put the wig on, and realize it's
slightly in the wrong place, or it's not quite snug enough to hold my wig in place. So this might take a little experimentation. Now, the real secret for how I get the wig to stay on is with wig tape. I'm including the link below for the product that I have used. To be honest, I have mixed feelings about it, but it does the job. So this is the size that it comes in, but I have cut mine in half because basically what we're gonna do is tape the wig on, and I follow my hairline. My hairline's pretty far back, so I have enough room to have the wig come down. So I'm going to place my tape here, here, and here. Give myself some nice coverage along my hairline. Here is my wig tape. I'm gonna take some needle nose tweezers and get right under this blue paper. There we go. Peel that off and do the same for the other side. You can just see where the tape ends, so I can touch over here and be safe and not touch it. Okay, so now we have our tape exposed and we can put it on the wig. Okay, and I am standing my wig upside down, so it's just resting here, and I can see the lace of my wig, and I'm going to be placing the tape here, here, and here. It's pretty sticky from how many times I've already done this, and it can be pretty hard to get the tape off without losing some of these hairs up here, just so you know. You can see my comb inside, so that's what will be going in my bun. I'm going to take my tape and I'm going to match as best as I can the curve of the hairline. And I'm gonna come all the way to the edge of the earpiece here and try to get it lined up. And that's our first piece of tape, and I'm gonna leave the backing on until I'm done with my other pieces. Here's our next piece. I'll do the other edge. And then the center here has a little bit more than we can fit, so I might have to lift these papers up a little bit, but I'll get there in a second. And now it's time for our centerpiece. Okay, and we're ready to start taking our tape off. Once it's started, it's not too hard to work with, but the ends can be very gooey, so just be careful that you get it lifted cleanly on the end and you should be okay. And now we're ready for the most difficult part, which is actually getting it placed correctly on my head. This is the stage where I have had to retry and redo it a couple of times, because once that wig tape sticks or doesn't stick, sometimes you just kind of have to redo it. So we're gonna see how it goes the first time around. So I have my wig and I have it ready to go onto my head back like this, but I do want to get this comb underneath my bun. So I have to kind of get my hand in here to get the comb to lay correctly while still getting it placed correctly on my head. So it's a little tricky. So let me see if I can show you. Okay, I focus on getting my comb heading back in the right direction. The wig tape is sticking a bit to my skin, but it's not like fixed in place until I'm ready. So I'm going to go ahead and start adjusting my tape and stretch this a little bit and then shove and get this to go down. Now I'm going to be totally honest. This wig hurts. So the weight of it definitely does go straight back. So where that comb is pushing into the bun I made of my hair, that is the center of the, that is the focal point of the discomfort. So I will usually get a headache right in there. However, sometimes even this just feels like it's getting pulled back. So right up in the front of my head is where I do feel the pain from this. This wig does weigh a little bit. I want to say it weighs around, 2 pounds or so, which isn't much to lift, but it's a lot to have on your head getting pulled back. So it feels basically like my hair is getting pulled back because of how I have that comb in. So there are certainly other ways that people have made this wig that maybe is a little bit more sustainable. I find that I can wear this for 2 to 3 hours and be okay, but I have done it for a full 9-hour day and was really suffering from it. I basically kept tilting my head forward like this so that the weight would go forward and I wouldn't be pulling back all the time. So I just want to be honest about my experience with this. I love how it looks. I love being Padme, but I find it really works best for shorter events and, not something that I'm going to wear to a convention for the full day. And that's how I made the headpiece for Padme's senatorial purple gown from Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. Here's the finished look. Be sure to check out my other videos to see how I finished the other parts of this costume. I'm Sarah of Novice Cosplay, and thank you for watching.